This is Pete Moore on Halo Talks NYC on location, Ursa, San Diego. I bumped into a friend of mine from New York City. What do you know? What's the chance of that? We're going to talk about Ringo. We're going to talk about a water bottle that has been optimized for your phone to work out with. Chris is a serial entrepreneur of consumer products. I was privy to his first startup and watched the growth there, and we're going to watch the growth of this one. We're going to talk about it first. So it's kind of like a movie script, and then you're just going to play out the rest of it, and then in a couple of years, you'll tell me how it went according to the plan. Awesome. So give your background, and we're going to shoot from there.
Yeah, so I'm a designer by training. Always wanted to create products and bring it to market. And my first venture was a product by the name of a company by the name of Prepped. We made lunchboxes for grown-ups. It was in that time when everyone was meal prepping, showing off their meal prep on Instagram. And we decided to make a really cool lunchbox, meal prep set app with nutritionists and chefs to make your own lunch and take it to work. Crazy.
And it was a pretty cool design. It was like well put together from like a storage standpoint and from a square footage and fashionable and function. Fashion meets function.
Yeah, well, we wanted people to feel like proud to take their lunch. You know what I mean? Like get it out
instead of like your little Tupperware that has all like the scratched ice marks on it and stuff.
Yeah, and we started that with from scratch, first company, and we did $5 million in our first year in sales. Wow. And it was just
through what kind of distribution? Just e-commerce direct?
All D2C.
Wow, that's awesome. And then you end up selling that to a strategic, you said?
Yeah.
And what did they do with it? Did they continue it on?
Yeah, well, we actually joined the team, worked for them for 2 years, and made a bunch of more products for them, and they're going strong.
That's great. That's great. So I'm sure your entrance into the fitness industry was because of my influence, so thank you for coming into the Halo sector.
Of course.
Whether that's true or not, let's just make it that way because it's better for the podcast.
You've always been an inspiration, Pete.
Thank you. Talk about why you saw this as an opportunity and how in your designer mind you convince yourself that I could create a product. I might not have like full patent protection, but my design, my coloring, my packaging, the way I think about it, I don't look at like a market the way maybe somebody might on like an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, like, hey, that market's taken. You're like, well, you got to reimagine or reinvent it, or you got to think like I think. How does your brain work?
Well, this
is that a good question? You comfortable with that?
Yeah. This product came about, I was with some friends. We're in the Florida Keys, catching up. We hadn't seen each other in a really, really long time. We were all trying to take a group photo on the back of a small boat. And classic, put the water bottle up against the phone, kept on slipping, couldn't get the angle, terrible photos, and just thought, you know what? Why don't these water bottles, the things we carry with us on hikes, on boats, whenever we're traveling, when we're working out, actually hold the phone? So went away, started sketching, and we're like, actually, no, this would really work in the gym. This would really work for people that want to, take photos of themselves, but don't want to carry a tripod around. Right. It becomes a tripod that you have with you all the time. And, put it out there, and the response has been incredible. And with regards to the patentability, I mean, this product is really hard to make. It's beautifully designed. There's a lot more going on than meets the eye. But it's also, we have design patents and we have a pending utility. So actually there is some decent level of protection there too.
Gotcha. So, talk about the name, how that came up.
Well, we didn't want to call it like the pod bottle. We wanted something that could almost sound like a dog's name. Something, grab your Ringo, So it took a long time to come up with the name. Eventually managed to be Ringo because it's got a circular ring on the top. You take it on the go, carry it like this. Ringo makes sense.
Yeah. And where are you at when you design a product? A lot of people say, I'm just going to put this together and, I'm just going to run to market. And so what are some of the things that you have to think about when you're designing this type of product? And you're thinking about, okay, how can somebody get hurt? What's the chance that the magnet doesn't work in their phone and then they crack the screen? What type of materials is weighted enough in order to make sure? So talk us through some of the things that maybe behind meets the eye of like how cool it looks. What are some of the things that a designer needs to think about? And the reason why I ask you this is also because a lot of our listeners are entrepreneurs, and I think you have to design your studio, your programming, your sales script. Everything needs to have a reason behind it, and it actually has to make sense from either physics, common sense, passion, or behavior, something like that. So start there.
Yeah, I mean, with regards to like the design process, we wanted something that was super durable. We wanted something that was best in class. We wanted to use the best materials, the best hinges. This hinge has to carry, a liter of water, swinging it around all day, every single day, and not get weak. So we worked with a hinge manufacturer to actually make that possible. And yeah, we just over-engineered it, to be honest with you. Like there wasn't like, let's hit the perfect. It's like, no, this is over-engineered. It's gonna last. And we wanted to, keep drinks hot and cold for 12 and 24 hours. So really just, we do a thing called a Moscow. It's a must, should, could, won't structure. And just like really the design starts with writing before you even start sketching.
Say it again, must, should, could, won't.
Could, won't, yeah, it's called Moscow structure. You remove the O's, and we start off by actually designing this with
It
words.
must do this. It should do this. It could do this. It won't do that.
Yeah.
Got it.
And then you start honing in. Okay, so what's the design going to look like? How's it going to work? How's it going to hit all these things? We work with engineers and all that kind of stuff to make sure that the physics of it works, so it can be worked fully functionally, whether it's full or empty.
So you got a great success story with Yeti, obviously kind of reinventing the outdoor product space and on the go. I'd call them Halo related products. What kind of brought you to the water bottle? Was it the utility of, did somebody have a whole water bottle with them, or like why didn't you, like I've got one of these like stands here, right? Like it's like like one of these stands. So what was it? Tell us about the conversation or the aha moment.
No, it was that.
This keys to the
It was
trip.
that aha moment. We were trying to take a group photo, and it wasn't the first time we had tried to do this. We'd done it on a ski trip recently, and we had done it on a hike, and it was like, the aha moment was, why doesn't this thing we carry with us hold the thing that we always try and balance against it?
Right.
Like you see it every time you go to the gym, people putting their phones against their bottles, and it just makes so much sense.
Yeah. So what's you think about direct to consumer? You obviously had success with that on the prep side. You got a lot of health clubs here that already have members. They could be giving out this type of as a promotional item and pay for it. What's your thoughts on co-branding or private labeling? Talk to us about those opportunities.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really interesting. My initial conception was, or my initial hypothesis was, there would be like 50% direct to consumer, 25% retail, 25% corporate promotional, and it's kind of flipped. People have been knocking on our door since the day we launched this to try and collaborate on corporate promotional. People are trying, wanting it from every different vertical. So whether it be people that have online platforms and they're actually, for instance, like fitness classes on apps that people are doing from home, outside, in the park, they're wanting to collaborate, all the way through to people that have equipment that live at home and don't really get talked about outside of that environment. Now, by branding our product with this kind of hinge, you're like, I use this to work out, but it's also great for FaceTime. And that conversation happens at the office, and they can tell their friends about the gym experience they're having at home, the workout experience they're having at home through that. So,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So, you've lived in several countries.
Yeah.
Where do you look at it as the entry point with any product? Do you always say or the last couple of products? Do you have a city or a state, or how would you think about it for this, or what kind of account do you want to land to kind of set the tone?
With regards to like the area of highest affinity, my new thing is I don't know what I don't know. I think it's so easy to start and be like, the last product did really well in New York, so this is going to do really well in New York. I think I kind of I start again every time and just look at the data and see what happens, because we do market broad and then focus in on where it works. But, we've had majority of the sales have been in the US this time. Yeah.
Have you done any research, or I'm assuming you can do research, but because there's so many research firms out there that they come up with crazy shit. But is there like a water bottle use per capita where like there's certain, like in certain cities you see like everybody's walking around with a water bottle, or if you're in like Venice Beach and you got a lot of bodybuilders around, they're all walking around with like a milk jug. Is there granular data like that, or is that like a little, like that's a great idea but like it's not really going to tell you exactly what you want to know?
Yeah, it's really interesting.
I don't know.
I don't have that data.
Loud.
Yeah, no, but it's a good thing. I remember you can actually look up when we first started the previous company, we looked up meal prep on Google Trends
Right.
and saw San Diego was actually the meal prep capital of America.
And did you do anything about it?
We just targeted heavier into
targeted,
San
you did,
San Diego,
okay.
yeah.
We'll put this in the show notes. Make a note for Ganelin. I want to find out like highest water bottle consumption or highest environmentally friendly where people actually bring a recyclable water bottle or sustainable water bottle. Highest penetration rates, and we just crush that area like a blue zone.
That's the thing. It reminds me of high school. You know, when a few kids had the bottle, everyone had to have the bottle.
Yeah,
and
or
that's
like
why
the
I'm
Star
looking
Wars lunchbox.
Exactly, and that's why I'm looking into the fitness space. I was in Venice at the Golds there.
Yeah.
And speaking to a couple of the influencers there who actually can't use tripods now because they've banned tripods in the gym, and they're like, I need this. And I'm just thinking,
why do they ban tripods? Just take up too much room.
I think too many
just
people just kind of like with these wide legs really getting in the way. You know, the way I see it is if I can get this to like 10 people within the gym, it's just going to take off amongst everybody. So that's really my focus at the moment.
Yeah. I would think about, you know, a high-end club chain like a, you know, Lifetime or Fit Athletic here or an Equinox, like this type of, you know, graphite finish with their logo on it. I mean, I think this could kind of be a status symbol, you know, people walking around with these, and carrying them like that.
That's definitely the intention.
Yeah. Do you have a clip that goes, you know, I'd probably put like my TRX clip on here, use TRX.
I know TRX,
you know, like that climber clip.
Yep, like a
I think I would
carabiner.
put that on my side. I put it on my side of my belt buckle or
You just
something.
clip it on.
Yeah. It went from a magnet standpoint. I know people aren't going to be able to see this here, but from a magnetization standpoint, does every cell phone have the same magnetic back?
So, good question.
Thank you.
The iPhone 12 and above has MagSafe built into the phone, so you don't even need a case. And then we actually make a additional ring. Yeah, so your phone works perfectly there. And then we have an additional ring. So say you got a Samsung, put that ring on there, and it will work with it. Yeah.
Got it. So how many people are in the company right now? And given that you've done this play before, what are some of the things you've learned related to what's the sequential path of hiring? And maybe maybe in the past, I don't want to name names, but let's say like, the reason why I'm asking is because I see a lot of companies and they might hire somebody. I need a CFO. You actually needed the head of sales. Like you you're stocking your back, you know, defense line, but you actually need a striker.
Yep.
You know, and like that's why you're not selling. So there's nobody to bean count if you can't sell. So like focus on biz dev and sales. Where somebody might say, well, if I don't have my CFO, it's going to go off the rails anyway. So how do you think about, you're a designer, you're obviously, you know, energized by sales and marketing, not necessarily compliance. So how do you think about building a team and like who goes where when?
Yeah, I think in this early stage, the sales solves everything is the motto.
Yeah.
You know, if you just don't sell, everything stops. If the moment you stop getting that revenue in, you're looking at your employees like, oh, someone's going to have to go here.
Yeah, exactly.
So sales solves everything, I think, is the motto. And, you know, in terms of the playbook, we kept it really lean with the previous company, like really lean. It was 2 of us for a long time. Now we're up to 4 already, fractional and full-time. And then we're looking to continue to kind of hire where we're seeing the areas of opportunity. So, for instance, I'm in the contract stage with a veteran of 30 years in the corporate promotional space. That could be $30 million a year. And that could be and it's all cash and carry. So, you know, this is self-funded. The intention is to continue that way. And, you know, I think having someone like that that's bringing in those sales allows us to take a little bit of pressure off, be more strategic. Yeah. And that's the plan.
You know, when people are building businesses right now, we're a part of a business that is doing $26 million of revenue. Might have 5 employees full-time and outsource everything else.
Yep.
Somebody looking at that business from the outside, say like, how are you pulling that off? That's a little bit trusting to say like, I'm going to let all these outsourced people kind of like help fuel my business at the same time. You know, it's relatively asset light, very low break even. A lot of people are on influencer or sales commissions or affiliate payments. Um, so as you're building a business, it used to be like, hey, I got 300 employees or I got 50 employees, and people would like kind of wear that on their chest as like a badge of honor. Now it's like, I'm not really sure that the business warrants, as much labor, and maybe that's the business model. And I don't care how many full-time employees I have, because that's not an indicator of my product. It's not an indicator of sales either. And I'd rather spend my money on marketing that has a variable return on it than labor that once I design this product and it's bulletproof, like how many customer support calls am I getting for this bottle? I don't know, maybe if it gets run over by like an 18 wheeler. Besides that, like we're probably not going to get many calls.
Yeah.
So how do you think about that, of like what success means and how big a team you want to have or need to have, or maybe like that's not something you really think about until like there's this like severe need in the business that you can solve?
I think you think about it a little bit before it's a severe need, but really it is around when that pain point starts to become apparent. You can see something coming up in the weeks. I think in the coming weeks, I think that in the previous business, we like played soccer with all of us chasing the ball around.
Yeah.
And now we are trying to have different segments in different areas because there's just so many opportunities here. But yeah, all in all, I think that a good blend of having some really good people around you, that really helps the whole team. If you're outsourcing everything, you're not going to have that. It's not going to be a great journey. And I know your podcasts always end with a quote. And
I was going to ask you one.
Mine is the journey is the destination, and that's something that I've come up with in the last kind of year and really lived to. It's the day-to-day of the business is the destination.
You got to enjoy the ride.
Yeah,
I think a lot of entrepreneurs, and I think also through COVID, have gotten beaten down to the point where, if we're doing a football analogy, it's like two yards forward, 1 yard back, or like we're at the goal line. The goal line just moved the field another 10 yards. And it's always like, oh my God, when I get to there, then I'll be happy. And it's like, you know what? Like you got to have a certain amount of wins and losses every day, and you just better get used to it. I used to think that I was going to go 30-0, for a month after, I turned 40, because I'm like, all right, I've seen everything. I'm not going to make these mistakes. This is how things are going to go. This is what I can control. This is what I don't control. And like, let's just move forward. And the reality is life doesn't work that way, so.
And, the first 2 years were prepped. We didn't take a day off.
Yeah, exactly.
And like now I'm like, every other week I take a Wednesday off, just take an extra Wednesday off and just kind of like start to really enjoy the process and realize like this is my life, like I'm not delaying it till later. So, having a good team of people around you is part of that.
Yeah. When you think about the roller coaster ride, and you had a good run on the first one, and I would suspect you're gonna have a good run on this one as well. What are some of the things that concern you, or like as an entrepreneur, being a paranoid entrepreneur? What are some of the things that keep you up at night, or that your friends who are other entrepreneurs say, like in this new era of like, I want to share my weaknesses with you. I want to tell you that I'm depressed. I want to tell you that this isn't working. Maybe not you, but just in general, what do you see people exposing that maybe they didn't before, and how are they getting help by like sharing it?
Yeah, look, I think everyone, when you put yourself in a high pressure situation, whether it be in a business or like trying to do something and be very vulnerable to expose yourself and put yourself out there to do something with no fallback plan. Of course, all of your weaknesses will come to the surface. Sometimes they'll be at 3 a.m. and you'll have that moment. But I just think that if you come at it with a growth mindset and you're like, wow, I'm really struggling with this, I'm going to look closely at what I'm struggling with and why I'm struggling with it, like you can usually find real good growth in those moments. So for me, just looking at it as a personal development journey alongside the business is how I kind of cope with that, and look at them all as learning situations when I'm feeling that pressure. Because it is true entrepreneurship at this point. Like I'm going booth to booth at Ursa, and 1 in 50 could be a huge opportunity for Ringo.
Yeah.
And that's like going into the unknown just with optimism.
So as you look at this this water bottle, Ringo, and there'll be pictures and links here, Just give me like a wholesale price if I want to private label this, or do you have that yet?
Yeah. So
Or
the
range?
private labeling is always kind of like variable, but yeah, we usually direct would do like 30 to 40% off the retail price. So have that in mind, like 30 something bucks, $30, $33.
That's what it would be for wholesale.
Yeah, if I was to private label it and kind of co-brand it.
All right. I mean, the interesting part of this is, and people need to think about this here, you just give people T-shirts, but they'd wear it once a week or once a month or never.
Yeah.
The interesting point here that might be a good sales part of your strategy for clubs to say, like, somebody gets this water bottle, and once they get hooked on it, and I don't know what kind of data you have, they're probably walking around with this every day, pretty much everywhere they are, with an Equinox logo on it or Lifetime Fitness logo, powered by, or this is my Ringo, or whatever. I think there's a lot of brand equity and impressions related to this that's super interesting. And then I think people would get jealous that they don't have one if you're not allowed to use a tripod and you can use this.
Well, Pete, once I give you one, you'll know what it is to be addicted to your Ringo. Like, this thing goes in the car, water bottle holder, then you're doing a FaceTime call, then you're on an airplane and watching a movie, and then
it's just in
every aspect of your life.
Yeah, definitely send me one, and then we're going to talk to the right people about this.
Great.
That's awesome. Well, look, man, I'm glad you had success. I'm glad you're now part of the Halo sector. Please tell Ringo is a Halo device, and look forward to helping you make connections and get this thing proliferated and getting people more beneficial workouts because they can follow instructions visually. So,
Thanks,
awesome.
Pete.
All right, bro. Great to see you
cheers.
again, man.
Great to see
Chris
you.
Place, from Blenda to San Diego, from Prepped to Ringo, and this story continues.